My name is Thad Peterson, and I'm a director of a tour company, safari company in Tanzania, East Africa.
I'm Dr. Mark Ritchie. I'm the director of the International Sustainable Development Studies Institute.
I'd like to introduce a program we call the Simanjiro Grazing Easement Program. And this is a collaborative effort between the pastoral Maasai who live here in northern Tanzania and safari tour operators in an effort to protect important grazing areas on the Maasai steppe in northern Tanzania. It's significant to us as tour operators, but significant in terms of biodiversity conservation in that it provides habitat protection of grazing and pasture lands that are good for both livestock, but also wildlife. The dry season water resources for wildlife, the really important critical areas in the dry season. At that time, the much larger wet season dispersal areas were not included in the park. Probably 7 times the area of the park are used by wildlife when they move out during the wet season, during the rainy season. And the reason for that probably is that human density was very minimal. The population was small. But now we have a human population doubling every 20 years in Tanzania. Pressure from humans in these habitats is now very high. And a lot of the corridors, the calving areas are threatened and being even converted to agricultural or settlement areas.
The big issue about biodiversity that we feel, and I in particular feel is really important, is one that is often missed when we're talking about biodiversity in general in environmental science. And specifically, that's a massive biodiversity loss that we're seeing among crops. There's a huge amount of indigenous knowledge around food crops, and particularly in the global south. And one of the greatest losses that we're seeing in biodiversity is the loss of these indigenous foodways. And so that certain crops, certain species of crops are going extinct because we don't have the lived knowledge or the ability to continue those.
We've been very successful in sort of putting knowledge and action together. Knowledge of the issues and potential conflict between the human population, the Maasai, and wildlife, but knowledge that the Maasai still very much value and need pasture land for their culture and their pastoral livelihood, their livestock livelihood. It's still very important. And knowledge that in the Tanzanian political context, the Maasai as a community have ownership and rights to their land and village areas under the current land laws. And they can make decisions to manage land use. Knowing that, and given that, the Maasai and tour operators like ourselves were able to collaborate and to successfully put in place a mechanism to protect large areas of the traditional pasture lands from being cultivated or used for other purposes. One of the lessons that we continually learn, and even from our own experiences, I think, as wherever we are in the world, but when people are empowered and have rights and responsibilities and are involved and benefiting from the resources, habitats that they're involved with, the land areas, this is when it works best. This is when conservation of habitats, of landscapes works best.
The whole movement around food sovereignty and conserving this precious biological diversity of food crops is a really good example of how knowledge and action has worked together. And you have on the one hand local activists, and a lot of it is driven by small-scale farmers in the global south. You have seed banks and seed exchanges happening throughout the global south and the global north as well. And it's a really good example of where knowledge of the problem has allowed people to really increase their ability to fight against this loss of biodiversity and also conserve this biodiverse resources and the knowledge in and around how to move this biodiversity forward. So for example, you have here in northern Thailand communities that have seed networks where they have a particular seed, a vegetable or rice or something like that, that's adapted to a very specific ecological niche. And they're able to save those seeds, exchange them with other communities that may have different varieties, which protects them a lot because it gives you more diversity on your farm, it gives you more options for food crops, and it allows people to take charge and be able to have some sovereignty and have some empowerment over their own food and how that food is grown and who's in charge of that.